Welcome to the video on our wire wreath class. I'll be showing you how to make these flowers, how to add your leaves to the wreath ring that we have here. So going over a little bit of what's in the kit, you've got your wreath ring, you've got some ribbon. It should be a wire edged ribbon just to help us give some shape, and you're going to have some pre-cut flower shapes as well. Things that you'll want to grab: something round, kind of like a marker to help you shape petals. You'll want your glue gun. Some of the flowers you can glue with a glue stick, so you can choose to use that on some of them. And then when working with the wire, you might want some clippers. Also, this wire is thin enough, it should be able to be cut with scissors, but I wouldn't use your good ones for that. We'll start with the flowers. If you've done any paper flowers before, it's the same concept. We'll start with our rolled one here, and they'll end up looking something like that. So you're just gonna curve in each of those tabs. You want them on the outside like that. So this is our center here. We're just kind of shaping it this way. I'm going to do that all the way around. So now at this point you can either use the marker, you'll get a looser one more like this, or if you want your flower to be tighter, you can roll it this way. And with the marker, you would just stick the marker in and then roll around it. So I'm just going to start rolling it all the way to the middle here. And sometimes you've got some petals that might need some coaxing as you're doing this. And if it doesn't look very flower-like, we can loosen it up here at the end. So at this point we can either kind of loosen it up and let it go and then catch it like I just did. So that has a pretty nice swirl to it. So I'm going to hold it, and then I want to make sure it doesn't get away from me. I'm just holding on to the petals, and in this part right here, I'm just going to stick some glue. Enough that all these middle parts would catch onto it. And before your glue dries, you could adjust your center as well at this point. So like I can take and move that a little bit. There. And then this last part here, you might want to push that up to give it a little more shape. So here we've got our rolled flower. Now the next one is more of a round flower, so it'll end up looking like this. And all of these types of flowers are done the same way. So you've got some centers that you can put in. There should be a variety of them in your kits. This one has a lot smaller one because it is a smaller flower, so you'll probably want to put those together. And so what we're going to do for these is I'm going to take that marker and just kind of roll those petals inward to give them a shape. And if you want your flower to close up more, you could always hand roll them a little tighter, more like that. See how that's much tighter? And I'm gonna start putting these in order too by their size, so I know where each petal set is gonna go. Now I did have someone ask me how long will they stay in like these shapes, And I have some here at the library that I've had for about 3 years. Now, if they're in more of a humid location, like if you put it in your bathroom, it might not hold up because this is just paper. But the library itself is pretty low humidity because we have dehumidifiers to help protect our books. So my petals have not started to fall apart or anything. Now that I have them all folded upwards, I'm going to just start gluing them by stacking them, and then I want to offset them staggered so that it kind of makes more of a circular full flower, just like flowers are in real life. You might have centers like these, and you would just fold those up and glue it and stick it there in the middle. Or you might have a center more like this one, in which you can take, just kind of roll it up like that. Or you might have a center more like this one, and you just glue it on and then pull up your petals there. And I'm just gonna stick some glue in the center. I'm going with this one and stick it in there. There's just a variety of centers that are included in these kits. So I'm gonna skip ahead, and because these flowers are essentially all the same idea, just roll them in and stick one of the centers in there. So I'm gonna put my flowers to the side, and we've got our wreath here. We're gonna take our leaves, we've got some of those, and then we also have some of these leaves. And you could do a little bit of gluing to kind of hold them in place temporarily. They're not going to hold very well over time on the wire, but it's a good way to kind of figure out where you want to put your leaves. And then after that gets on there, we're gonna take our wire. I actually cut my wire in half so that I can do one side and do the other side. And then I'm gonna just start wrapping it around my leaf stems and the wire itself to hold it in place. And this wire will also help give you something to glue onto. I'm going to try to be careful of all my leaves here. And like I said, the glue's probably not going to stay very permanent. I'm going to take my end here and just fold that inward. You could use some pliers if you need to shape your wire a little more, but most of this works pretty well by hand. And if you got a little extra wire, just run it up the other direction, give you more things to glue onto. There we go. And then I'm going to do my other side. Any of that little extra I'm gonna just tuck in. There we go. So I've got my leaves on here. This is gonna be the bottom of the wreath, but I've got it up top so that the camera picks it up. Then I can add a little more greenery to this just to give it some more depth. You can also tear these if you wanted a shorter amount. So I might tear this in half, glue on some right here, just to have a little extra greenery. there. So I got some greenery going on, and then now I can start adding flowers. And I can start just kind of placing them to try to figure out where I want everything. So once you've decided where you want all of your flowers at, then you can start gluing. And also you want to make sure that any place that there's wire, that you've got a flower covering it, unless you kind of work a little bit more to hide it. My wire here is actually hidden by that greenery, so we are good. And then I'm just going to add glue to the back of the flowers and glue them on. I'm going to give them just a second to cool down and attach. So they should be stuck on there pretty good, but if you have any that feel a little loose, we can come back here and look at the back and kind of check them. And all of these are pretty good. Maybe this one's a little looser. So what I can do is I can take some scrap paper. I could also just kind of stick a little more glue in there, but I found the scrap paper kind of worked really well to hold things in place. I fold it in half so it can go around that wire. Add some glue to that scrap paper and then just glue it down. And that just gave it a little bit more support back here. No one's going to see the back, so that is completely fine. What you're going to do is our bow for the top. Now all the ribbon that you have, I actually cut a small piece off to do the top piece, and then the rest that you have left behind is what you're going to use for your bow. So make sure you leave enough for your bow. I took and glued the ends, so since they kind of fray a little bit, you can also do that at the end. I'm gonna just pop this on here, line it up, and I'm actually gonna clean up this edge of this piece by gluing in my edge, and then I'm also gluing this side up, tuck in my wires here. And I'm going to glue all of this together. Now I'm going to do one final thing to just kind of clean up this whole edge and glue right here, encasing all of it into one piece here. And then this will be the top that you'll use to hang it. Now right here we're going to be sticking our bow. So to make the bow, I had folded in those ends and just glued it down, but we're going to take and kind of make bunny ears on each side. 2 little loops. I'm going to cross them. I'm going to push the front one to the back and through the loop that we created here and pull, and then just keep shaping it until your bow is even on both sides. Fluff out the folded ends, and you might move around the center a little bit, make that look nice. And the ribbon I have here, the wires kind of show a little bit, so I can tuck that in too. So that's pretty good. And if you waited to do the fixing up the edges until now, you can then just fold them and glue them in. And then I'm just going to stick glue right here on the back, fairly good amount, and glue it right there in the center of that. So there is your bow and the hanger, and we've got all our flowers here. So there's your completed wreath. My contact information is going to be in the description, so if you need any help, just let me know. And if you'd like to use the makerspace to finish this project, you can also contact me for that. Good luck!